This is YouTube Joseph WM podcast interview with Dr. Phil Currie. So today I'm YouTube Joseph WM. I'm joined by paleontologist Dr. Phil Currie. Dr. Currie, it's good to have you here.
Well, it's nice to be here.
And also, first of all, I want to start. My dad several years ago took your Dino 101 course on Coursera from the University of Alberta. Do you still work for the University of Alberta?
Oh, yeah.
Are you there now, or are you at home?
No, I'm at the university and sitting in my office.
Okay. Also, first, let me introduce my interests. I'm into all science, history, geography, true crime, not really that much anymore, video games, speculative evolution, future studies, all that. Do you know, what was I going to say? I'm into in science. My two biggest interests is paleontology and astronomy. And also, um, let me start with the questions. So, first question, did, what modern animal occupies the same niche as Stegosaurus?
That's a very good question. I suppose it'd be a fairly sedentary animal who didn't need so much to worry about being attacked by too many things. So I would say something like a armadillo or pangolin or something like that. That's big enough, not as big as Stegosaurus, of course, but
You
still.
mean
Uh,
porcupine? Porcupine is? Do they?
say that one again.
Porcupines.
Porcupines are a good one too. Yes.
And then I thought elephants did. No, elephants are more like sauropods. They're elephants and giraffes,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
When I asked ChatGPT what modern animal occupies the same niche as Stegosaurus, it said none of them. There is no modern analog. Do you know what ChatGPT is?
Nope. I'm afraid not.
It's an AI language model. That's stuff I really do paleontology. Next question: Did um did the Pachycephalosaurs occupy um the same or similar niches to deer, goats, and sheep?
Probably. I mean, of course, there's a lot of argument as to whether or not they use their heads for headbutting or whether, in fact, it was just a way of displaying to each other. But bottom line is, I think probably they were using their heads for something other than just display. So something like a mountain goat or a mountain sheep would, in fact, be a pretty good analogy.
What about deer? What dinosaur was like a deer in terms of ecological niche?
Probably any of the ceratopsian dinosaurs. I mean,
I
they're
thought they
they're
were like
somewhere. Well, that's true too, but of course, rhinos and deer have a lot of similarities in their behaviors too.
rhinos, but do they occupy a similar niche
Rhinos, oh, for sure, I think.
in deer? I don't
And
think so.
but the thing to keep in mind is that whereas a rhino tends to be a relatively solitary animal, deer can move in big herds at times. Things like
So
caribou, for
I
sure.
I think if some ceratopsians occupied the small ones were like deer or antelopes, and the larger ones were like rhinos or bison, right?
Yeah, bison, I think, are a good analogy there too. Very good
And,
analogy.
and then also, am I right when I said the large ceratopsians were like large bovids or rhinos, and the smaller ones were like deer and antelope?
Yeah, but I mean, we're guessing on all of these things. They clearly had a range of behaviors that depended very much on the environments they were living in
I'm
and
talking about
who was chasing them.
I'm talking about ecological niche.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yep.
Also, what was I gonna say? Um do you what was I gonna say? Do you, do, is it was there flightless pterosaurs like there's flightless birds today?
Not that we know of.
They might have been, but there were we haven't found fossils yet, or they didn't
Uh,
fossil.
Correct. Pterosaurs are a little bit hard to find anyway because their bones are so fragile.
But if they were flightless, wouldn't they not need to be as hollow their bones?
Well, that's very correct too. But then, what kind of environment would they be living in? And
Maybe islands like flightless birds. Maybe like Haxigopteryx, the pterosaur.
no, I don't.
It was from Haxek Island.
Oh, of course, Hatzig, yeah.
Do you think Haxigopteryx, the pterosaur apex predator of that island, was flightless?
I haven't really given it any thought, and or I also haven't looked at the evidence, so I'd be hesitant to say that for sure.
One quick question about you: do you study only dinosaurs or all prehistoric life?
Sorry, you cut out there for a while.
Sorry, do you study only dinosaurs or all prehistoric life?
I study mostly meat-eating dinosaurs, but I do study a lot of other things too. I have papers on everything from fish to mammals, so
I mean,
fossils, of
like
course.
prehistoric beasts, Devonian fish, sea scorpions, stem mammals, Suzukians, pterosaurs, plesiosaurs, etc. All that.
No, not quite a range. I mean, I did my uh, early work when I was a graduate student on Permian reptiles, and but when I study mammals or birds or fish and so on, these days they tend to be those animals that live with dinosaurs, particularly in the Cretaceous period.
Yeah, what the Permian? You mean synapsids or actual or the sauropsids by
No,
Permian?
synapsids and sauropsids.
Synapsids were not reptiles. They were not mammals either. They were in between.
Yeah,
And all right, all mammals, including humans, are their descendants.
yeah, correct.
And then also, um, what was I gonna say? Do you know? Is it possible? You know how there were no mammals in the age of dinosaurs bigger than house cats?
Correct.
What if there was, and we just haven't found fossils of them yet? Do you think that's a possibility?
That's certainly a possibility because, of course, there are very few environments in our present world or the world that dinosaurs lived in that actually preserve animals as fossils.
So,
So there are many environments that just don't give the opportunity for animals to fossilize at all.
so don't, so, so don't you? Oh yeah, that's unfortunate that most animals that ever lived never get fossilized. That ever
Hmm.
lived,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And then also, as I was gonna say, do you know, what was I gonna say? So I was saying, but then I think that the if there were large mammals in the age of dinosaurs, they would have occupied similar but different niches to the dinosaurs to avoid competition. You think that's possible for two organisms to coexist and occupy a similar but different niche in the same ecosystem at the same time?
Oh, yeah. And mammals can be night animals, of course, and dinosaurs can be day animals, and they may avoid each other that way, or maybe they live on islands,
Yeah,
as you mentioned before. So
yeah,
that's all these things are possible, and we just don't know.
I know about Foster rule. The idea that on islands, the force on islands that makes big animals, um, dwarfs like mammoths and or sauropods, and small animals like birds and rodents, giants, and then so maybe there were islands in the Cretaceous that, or that, or Triassic or Jurassic um, that mammals or early synapsids, or mammaliforms, things like that, could have got to them, and they would have rafted there. And you know what rafting is? Sweepstakes.
Oh yeah,
They could have got there, and maybe when there were no dinosaurs or large reptiles, they could have became big in an insular environment. Do you think that's plausible?
it's quite possible.
We just haven't. We probably will never know. We might not if we unless we find we they haven't found any fossil evidence of that.
No, nothing to indicate that at this stage. So, of course, we always tend to take the simplest explanations. So, if you don't find fossils of a particular kind of thing, then you assume that they weren't living animals at the time. But that doesn't mean it was that way, of course.
Just because we haven't found, I hear this a lot with with alien life. Just because they haven't found we haven't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Same with fossils, right?
Correct. So you can't use negative evidence as proof. It's not proof. It's just
We don't know.
the most likely explanation. That's all.
Yeah, we don't know is the end. I would just be more conservative and say that. Anyway, do you know what animal fills what dinosaur I mean fill the same niche as bears?
No, but you can predict, I suppose, that the chances are pretty good that they were carnivores of some kind, at least in their history. And so things like ornithomimids or oviraptorosaurs
What
are
raptors?
possibly in those kind of roles where they're omnivores per se.
I thought oviraptors were scavengers and ornithomimids fill the same niche as ducks and as waterfowl, basically.
No, I think that's maybe a little too simplistic. Because we know that oviraptorids like Deinonychus became very, very large animals. Not oviraptorids, sorry, ornithomimids became very large animals. And then you have the therizinosaurs, and therizinosaurs were another derivative of a carnivorous line.
Aren't they
And
herbivores? You mean the therizinosaurs?
yeah,
Weren't they? I thought they were herbivores.
no, we don't have that kind of proof. It's assumed that they were, but with those giant claws that they have and the teeth are certainly good for not only eating plants but also for, I think, even chewing up some meat. So it's quite possible they were omnivores or piscivores, fish eaters as well as herbivores. So there are quite a few theropod lineages that seem to be getting into more diverse diets than, say, Tyrannosaurus rex.
If the dinosaurs never went extinct and continued evolving, they definitely would have been herbivorous theropods by now, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then, was there herbivorous theropods when the dinosaurs were alive in our own
Oh,
timeline?
yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Between ornithomimids and oviraptorosaurs, I think it's highly likely that there were herbivorous theropods.
I think you said ovirosaurs were the ones that lived like bears do today.
Well, maybe.
I thought
You
it was
know,
going to be a large carnivore like Giganotosaurus or Allosaurus, not T Rex. T Rex was more
no,
like
no, no. Those guys. I mean, they have such
no
um,
modern analog.
well adapted teeth and claws and things like that. I don't think that they were ever bear-like. I think they actually ate meat, and that was their role in life.
T Rex, Giganotosaurus, Allosaurus, Megasaurus, Spinosaurus, they all they all they ate 100% meat in their diet.
Almost certainly, I think.
So they were hyper carnivores, right?
Absolutely.
They were apex predators, in fact.
Hmm.
And then also, some people saying that Spinosaurus was a fish eater. What do you think about that?
I've always believed that. Actually, you just have to look at the body plan on the thing, and you realize that it's more crocodile-like than anything else.
But
And
crocodiles don't just eat fish.
no, no, they can eat other things too, and so can Spinosaurus. But still, I think the adaptations we know about right now suggest it was an aquatic animal or semi-aquatic animal like a crocodile.
And then also, what with the T Rex? That brings me to another question. What do you think about the idea that T Rex was a scavenger? I think it was both predator and scavenger.
I agree 100% with that, and always have, because any predator and any scavenger does a little bit of the other thing too. It'd be very hard for even a hyena to get enough meat if it didn't actually do some hunting too. And so
So,
it does about 30% of its meat is hunted meat. So it's not a strictly a scavenger. It actually is a predator too.
so
And
there's
for a
no
lion,
animal. Sorry to cut you off. There's no animal that's 100% a scavenger.
correct. And there's no animal that's 100% a predator either. If a dog
What were you
finds a
gonna say?
dead
Something about
animal, it eat it.
something. You were gonna say something about lions.
Oh, lions, of course, are an animal that we consider as being as close to a pure predator as anything, but almost 30% of its meat comes from taking meat away from other animals, so it's a scavenger too.
Okay, so I think the Therizinosaurs lived more like giant ground sloth. That was their mammalian equivalent on the ice. You know the the giant ground
Oh,
sloth.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know about all prehistoric animals and life forms. You just focus mainly on theropod dinosaurs, right?
correct.
And then also, do you and does that include birds?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
Not
I've
just
done a lot of work on birds, but bird fossils are pretty rare where I live.
what about modern birds?
And modern birds are probably one of the greatest examples we can use in modern animals for understanding what dinosaurs were like biologically in so many ways.
I know crocodiles. A lot of people think they're also descendant of dinosaurs, but they're not. They're descendant of another group of archosaurs called the Suchians.
Yeah, correct.
It's obvious to me. You know what an archosaur is.
Hmm.
And also, I don't. You're a paleontologist. I shouldn't need to explain that. Sorry, I don't mean to sound rude. Am I being rude?
No, no, I don't think so.
Also, what was I going to say? Do you know? Have you ever met Jack Horner?
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Have you met Dr. Scott Sampson?
Of course, he was one of my students.
Oh, he was. Have you met Dr. Robert Thomas Bacher, the paleontologist with the hat and the beard?
Oh, he's another good friend.
And have you met Thomas Hawes?
Holtz.
Holtz, I meant, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's somebody else I've known for a long time.
He commented on one of my Facebook posts. I seen him on my documentary, on some of the documentaries I watch. Oh, you were on, I think, Jurassic Fight Club, right?
Oh, yeah.
I seen that. Well, I don't know if I saw the one with you on it. I remember you were on the fourth episode of Catastrophe, and you were hosted that British series hosted by Tony Robertson. Did when you were on the show? Oh, what? How did you know Tony Robertson? Did you ever get introduced to him?
I may have, but frankly, it's not somebody that I would necessarily remember because he's not a paleontologist, right?
Yeah, he's an actor, right?
Yeah.
You know about him?
Probably not. I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to most subjects except for dinosaurs.
Also, what year was Catastrophe made? Do you remember?
No, I don't even remember that.
I knew it had to have been the 2000s or early 2010s. And then also, and then what was I gonna say? You were also on. There was one other. When dinosaurs roamed America. You were
Yeah,
You were in the last sec. You were the paleontologist in the last segment, the late Cretaceous.
yeah.
And then also, is there any future documentaries you're going to be on?
Yeah, there's a number that are in production right now, actually.
And
So,
I hope it's they don't just restrict it to a streaming service, so only certain people could see it, like they did with Prehistoric Planet.
yeah, no, some are probably going to be streamed, but some are also series, especially from BBC.
You mean on regular TV? You're going. You mean
And yeah, yes and no. We never watch regular TV, really.
your
But
household?
never have time.
And also, what about is you mean you're going to be on a future BBC dinosaur documentary?
Yeah, and also Japanese television, several programs.
Are you allowed to tell me what it is?
Well, not really, and it doesn't do much good anyway because it's very hard to predict when they're going to come out. So
Is it
until you
going to be a
actually
remake?
hear about it,
What is it a remake to Walking with Dinosaurs? You know Walking with Dinosaurs?
oh yeah,
Is it going to be a remake to Walking with Dinosaurs?
no,
It's something new.
yeah, it's one of their new documentaries.
Sorry if I cut you off. What were we going to say?
I just said that it'd be one of their new documentaries on some type of dinosaur.
Okay. Um. Um. I hope there's no shrink wrapping. You know what shrink wrapping is?
Nope.
That's in paleo art when they reconstruct, when they draw the dinosaur based on the shape of the skeleton, which is an act. You never
Uh,
heard of that?
no, I never heard of that one. That's a good one though.
That's a concept that it's outdated. You should with dinosaurs. You should always flesh them out. You should fill them in more. You should because I can't. No modern animal except for maybe crocodilians have. You could see through their. You could see the skin through the skull. I mean, through their skin. I mean, I can't see your skull, the shape of your skull through your skin. Why would I see a T Rex, the shape of a T Rex's skull through its skin?
Correct.
Understand what I mean?
Oh yeah, I understand what you mean.
That's why I That's why every depiction of dinosaurs in the media is all terribly wrong. The prehistoric planet is not shrink wrap, but again, I don't have access to it because I don't have Apple TV, which is upsetting. Anyway, that's not really paleontology. Also another next question. Back to dinosaurs, dinosaur niches. What dinosaur filled the same niche as a horse?
Oh, I would say any of your hadrosaur, ceratopsian types of dinosaurs had the capability of doing that, but
Iguanodon.
iguanodon maybe, yeah.
I think pachycephalosaurs were the the at least in terms of plant eaters, the dinosaurs that are the least popular that no one really that most people who aren't into dinosaurs or paleontologists know about. They're the ones. What?
You're probably right about that, but there's a
Um,
lot of paleontologists who are interested in them and do work on them.
but they're not as popular with the general public as ceratopsians or stegosaurs or ankylosaurs or T Rex or any of that.
But they're not as well known either, so that doesn't help.
And also, what was I gonna say? Do you said oviraptors are the dinosaurs that fill the same niche as birds?
You could say
I mean
that,
bears.
yes.
I meant bears.
Well, raptorosaurs, of course, go from the size of a chicken to the size of a really big animal. Gigantoraptor, for example, is very large and probably wasn't doing the same thing at all as Ava Mimus.
Um, so was it ornithomimuses? I thought they were omnivores.
I was not talking about ornithomimids, though, in this case. I was talking about Ava Mimus.
Oh,
AVI.
was that a relative of Dinocyrus? I don't think.
No,
Okay.
no, it's actually a pretty close relative of Oviraptor itself.
So I did oviraptorids. Were they bear? Were they the ones that were like bears, or was Dinocyrus and its relatives like bears?
No, I could see Deinocheirus and its relatives being like bears, but I could also see Gigantoraptor as being, which is an oviraptorid type of animal, as also being bear-like. But
Okay.
again, we just don't know.
And yeah, and also, I mean, I'm talking. Do you know I'm talking about ecological niche?
Yep.
Also, what else, is there anything else we need to? I wanted to ask. Let me think. You have a few more minutes,
Sure.
and then also, do, um, what was the name? I forget the name of the other professor on the lady on the Dino 101 course. I forget her name.
Oh, you're talking about Betsy.
Best what was her full name?
Betsy Crook.
Was she a
And
professor also?
no, she was actually one of my students.
Oh, she helped. She was a teacher student. She helped taught the course.
Yeah.
She she's still your student.
No, she's moved on and she lives in California now.
She helped. I also you were also one of the professors on one of the courses I took. Unfortunately, never passed it. The theropod dinosaur origin birds. and the other was Dr. Scott Persons. What is his title, Doctor or Professor Scott Persons?
Well, I guess he's a doctor still. He will eventually become a professor, I'm quite sure.
And then also, do you know Dr. Darren Nash?
Yeah, I've met him.
Yeah, he's a, you know his podcast, Tetrapod Zoology?
No, that I don't know.
And then it's also a Facebook group that I occasionally post stuff in.
Uh-huh.
He's, oh, I,
Certainly
and
one
then
of the more active people these days and doing some great stuff. Great
Darren,
research.
Darren Nash and CM Cosman. You know CM Cosman?
Nope.
Never heard of him?
No, I'm afraid not.
He worked with Dr. Nash on All Yesterdays, which is the book that, even though I never read it, I've seen videos about on YouTube, and that's where they popularized the idea of shrink wrap. And have you heard of All Yesterdays?
Nope. Again,
It's a 2012 paleo art book. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say that, I mean, you end up being very focused and very busy as a paleontologist, and it's very difficult sometimes to keep up with everything that's going on.
Okay, one. Okay, one. I think this is probably gonna be the last question before I do the outro. I know you were on a few episodes of The Future is Wild. And then are you still into? So it's obvious at one point to me you were into speculative evolution. Are you still into it?
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah. No, I've always liked it because it's an important thing in terms of thinking creatively, and research is always something where you have to be creative in your thinking. And if you're not willing to step out of line and just do things in a normal way, then I don't think you're ever going to make any big discoveries. Frankly,
Do you mean speculative reconstructions of dinosaurs, or do you mean speculating about future evolution, alternative evolution, alternative?
both of them, I guess, because you have no way of predicting which way things are going to go because it can be controlled by as basic a thing as weather.
Do you know Dougal? Have you heard of Dougal Dixon?
Yep. Certainly, I've met Dougal many times.
You met him?
Oh yeah.
He's the author. You know his books, After Man, Man After Man, and the New Dinosaurs.
Hmm.
Have you read any of them?
Some of them.
Which one?
I've forgotten. I'd have to look in my bookshelf and just see which ones are here.
Okay,
Certainly, Life After Man, I did read.
Afterman, you mean?
Yeah.
That's about yeah. Animals 50 million years of future. Oh, we don't have time to get into that now. But before I do the outro, it's almost time for you to leave. I think before I do the outro, I wanted can I tell you about my social group that I go to.
Hmm.
Um, and then also, oh, before I do that, I have something sad to say. I was you when I took remember when I told you at the beginning that my dad took your my dad took your Dino 101 course.
Uh-huh.
You I thought you were going to say tell him I said thank you for that. You said thank you for that. Well, he's not alive anymore. I don't know if I should really be sharing it with you or on this podcast. Yeah, I'm not getting the details of how he died here though. That's all I'll say.
That's too bad for sure.
And then also, I wonder what he would have thought about me interviewing you and what was again the name of the person who the lady on the Dino 101 course?
Betsy Crook.
Betsy Crook. And then also I thought she was your colleague.
Well, yeah, students are colleagues too. So,
I thought that was a different category. Anyway, also now my social group, it's called Hang Out One Happy Place. It's a social group for teens and young adults with all abilities, disabilities. Uh, the leader of the director was my program aide when I was in the first year I was in high school that I graduated from. Yeah,
mhm.
you're one of the few people now I told about outside the U.S. know about the Hangout group. You can follow and support it on Facebook And I'm on Facebook or Instagram if you want. Do you have the time to?
Unfortunately, I very rarely have time. It's just
You go on
crazy.
Facebook or Instagram?
Not even Instagram. No.
The next best thing to do is if you can you please spread the word about the hangout to everyone you know and have them spread it to everyone they know.
Yeah.
Even though it does, even though you probably don't really understand what I'm talking about, or do you, or you don't know really. You understand?
No, you're right about that.
At least don't know. Anyway, it's just like I said, it's a social group for teens and young adults with all abilities and disabilities. It's in my my hometown of Baldwin. I'm on Long Island in New York. I'm on Long Island. It's a suburb. It's a suburb of New
Yeah.
York City. You know Long Island? Do you?
Oh yeah.
Just, and that's
I've
where
been.
I am. Anyway, do
Been
you have to go now?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to go now.
I stay in touch with you by email. There's
Yep, that's no problem at all.
there's anything else I want to ask, or if I think of any questions for a part two in the future.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, it was nice talking to you, Dr. Curry. Thank you for being here. Have a good day. Bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, bye bye.